The hall was silent, but not calm. Hundreds of alien leaders stood inside the great galactic court, watching with cold eyes. In the center stood Princess Ziva of the Varelians, tall and fierce, her purple skin glowing under the bright lights. She wore a royal suit of armor, more like a warrior than a bride. Her eyes were sharp, her face emotionless. But inside, she was burning. This was not her choice. This marriage was a punishment. The treaty is signed, spoke the High Speaker of the Galactic Alliance to keep peace between humans and Varelians. Princess Ziva will marry the chosen human, the crowd whispered. Some laughed, some looked. Shocked, Ziva did not move, her arms crossed over her chest. She had fought in 3 wars, commanded fleets, and won every battle. Now, she was being handed over to a weak species. Humans, they are soft, emotional, slow. She once said in a war council, they are not warriors, but peace had a price. And her father, the Varelian emperor, had chosen to pay it with her life. Then, the human entered. He walked in slowly, dressed in a simple black uniform. His name was Lieutenant Aiden Cross. He was tall for a human. With a scar over one eye and a calm face, he looked around the hall and then his eyes met hers. Everyone expected her to look away or show anger. But for a second, something passed between them. Something strange. Ziva didn't understand it, but she felt a small spark in her chest, like a memory she had forgotten. Aiden bowed. Not too low, not too proud, princess, he said softly. Ziva didn't reply. But she kept looking at him. The High Speaker continued the ceremony. Their hands were joined. A glowing ring placed on each finger, a symbol of unity. Across galaxies, the rings activated, sending a light through their skin. Ziva flinched, but only slightly. She felt a warmth spread from her hand to her arm. Then to her heart, that wasn't part of the ritual. She looked at Aiden sharply. He looked surprised too, but not scared. Later, in her private quarters, Ziva sat alone, watching the stars through the window. She touched her hand where the ring had been placed. It was still warm. She remembered his touch. It was soft, but something inside her reacted strongly. Her heart had beat faster. Her thoughts had become loud. That wasn't normal. She had trained her whole life to control her mind and body. What was this? The door opened and Aiden stepped in. Slowly, carefully, he was allowed. They were now bonded by law. I just wanted to say. He paused. I didn't agree to this either. Ziva turned, cold and sharp. Then why didn't you say no? Aiden smiled sadly. Some of us don't get to say no. There was silence. Then he walked to the window beside her, leaving space between them. Have you ever seen Earth from orbit? He asked, pointing at a small blue dot in the distance. No, she replied. Your planet is small. It is, he said. But it's home. Ziva looked at him again, this time longer. He was not what she expected. No fear, no false confidence. No trying to impress her, just quiet strength. She stood, suddenly tired. I don't trust you, she said. You don't have to, Aiden replied. Just don't underestimate me. She walked past him without answering, but for a moment. Their arms brushed. Again, that same spark. This time, it was stronger. Later that night, Ziva couldn't sleep. She dreamed of a place she had never seen. A garden filled with light and strange symbols in the dream. Someone touched her shoulder. It felt like Aiden's touch, but it wasn't him. It was a voice. Whispering something she couldn't understand, she woke up, sweating. The ring on her finger was glowing softly. She stared at it, confused and angry. This marriage was supposed to be a prison, a symbol of peace, nothing more. But something inside her had started to change, and it all began the moment she touched him. The morning on the Varelian warship was silent. But something had changed. Princess Ziva sat at the edge of her bed, Staring at her hand, the glowing ring had faded, but she could still feel it, that strange warmth inside her chest. Last night's dream stayed in her mind like fog, a voice she didn't know, symbols she had never seen, and a presence that felt like Aiden, but ancient, powerful. She stood and walked to the mirror. Her reflection looked the same, strong armor, fierce eyes, royal stance, but deep inside, something had cracked. A small, invisible line, a knock on the door, broke the silence. It opened before she could answer. Aiden stepped in, holding 2 small metal cubes. "I thought you might want food," he said, placing one on the table. Ziva didn't reply. Instead, she walked past him, keeping her distance. "Last night," she said slowly, "something happened during the bonding ritual." Aiden nodded. "I felt it too." "You should not have," she replied. "Only Varelians can feel the energy." Aiden looked at his hand, then at her. "Well, maybe I'm not just human." She narrowed her eyes. "What do you mean by that?" He hesitated, then touched the back of his hand. A small panel opened in his skin, glowing faintly with a golden light. Ziva stepped back, shocked. "That symbol?" she whispered. "Where did you get it?" "I was born with it," he said. "No one knows what it means, not even Earth scientists." Ziva walked closer, studying the mark. It was the same as in her dream, the same as the carvings on the ancient walls of her childhood temple. Only royal blood carries that sign, she said. "It's from my ancestors, a forgotten language." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "Then why do I have it?" Before she could answer, the ship's alarm rang, red lights flashing. Unknown intruders near the engine room. A voice shouted from the speakers. Ziva and Aiden looked at each other, then ran down the hallway together. The ship shook as a small explosion rocked the lower decks. Guards were already fighting shadow-like figures, assassins with cloaking suits, moving fast and deadly. Ziva leaped into battle without a word, her hands glowing with energy, her armor shifting into combat mode. Aiden pulled out a pulse pistol and fired with perfect aim. But then something strange happened. One of the assassins aimed at Ziva from behind. She didn't see it. Aiden did, and he ran forward. Pushing her aside, the shot hit him in the back. He collapsed to the ground. "No!" Ziva shouted, blasting the attacker with full force. The rest of the assassins vanished, escaping through the air vents. Ziva dropped to her knees beside Aiden. His eyes were open, but his breathing was heavy. "Why did you do that?" she asked, her voice shaking. He smiled weakly. "Because you're important." Then his hand touched hers, and the moment it did, a wave of energy burst from their skin. The ring on her finger lit up again, and so did the mark on his hand. This time, it wasn't just warmth, it was memory. Ziva saw flashes, not hers, but someone else's. A field of stars, a child with glowing eyes, voices calling her name, and the same ancient voice from the dream whispering. "The bond has awakened," it said. Then it was gone. Aiden had passed out. Ziva called for the medics, but her heart was racing. Not from fear, not from worry, from something deeper. She had seen part of herself inside him, later, in the ship's medical chamber. Aiden lay in recovery. His wound was healing faster than it should. Even for enhanced humans, Ziva stood at the doorway, watching him. Her general entered, saluting her. "Princess, we found something strange on one of the assassins." She followed him to the body. Its suit had the mark too, the same ancient symbol. "What is this?" she whispered. The general looked confused. "It's not from any known enemy." Ziva walked back to Aiden's room, her mind racing. If he had that mark, and the assassins had it too, then this wasn't just a political marriage, it was a key. A door had opened between them, and what lay beyond it could change everything. The stars outside the window looked peaceful, but inside the Varelian warship, nothing was calm. Princess Ziva walked down the quiet hallway, her footsteps echoing like whispers from the past. She had ordered silence around Aiden's recovery room. No guards, no advisors, no eyes. Only she was allowed in now because she needed answers, and she knew. He might be the only one who had them. Aiden was awake when she entered. Sitting up with slow breaths, he looked tired but not broken. "I guess I ruined the honeymoon," he said, trying to smile. Ziva didn't laugh, but her eyes softened just. "A little, you should be dead," she said. "That shot went through armor." "I heal fast," he answered. "Always have." "No human heals like that," she replied, stepping closer. "Not even soldiers." Aiden nodded. "That's because I'm not fully human." There was silence, heavy and sharp. He took a breath, then reached into the side of his uniform, pulling out a small black cube. He handed it to her. "What is this?" she asked. "A file," he said. "Top secret. Hidden even from my own people. I stole it." Ziva placed the cube into a nearby console. And holograms filled the room. Documents, test results, photos of children in metal beds, and one name glowing. On the screen, Project Echo Seed. Ziva read it out loud, confused. Aiden looked down. "I was part of a human experiment. They took alien DNA from ancient ruins and combined it with orphaned children." He paused. "I was the only one who survived." Ziva stared at him, her voice quiet now. "Alien DNA." "Yes," he said. "From your people." She stepped back, the truth crashing over her like cold wind. "That's why you have the mark," she whispered. "That's why the bond activated. It wasn't just marriage," he said. "It was something older, something in our blood." The hologram shifted again, showing a faded image of a temple. Ziva gasped. "That's from my childhood planet. That temple is forbidden. Even to royals, your dreams," Aiden said. "The symbols you saw, the voice, it's all connected to this." Suddenly, the console beeped an alert. Ziva quickly tapped the panel and a message appeared. "Unauthorized scan detected. Someone accessed the bonding data." "Someone is watching us," she said. "Someone wants to know what the bond." Triggered, before she could say more, the ship shook again, not from weapons, but from a power surge. The lights flickered and the air felt thicker. They weren't under attack. Something else was happening. Aiden stood up, ignoring the pain in his back. "I think the bond is still active," he said. "And it's spreading." Ziva nodded, then touched her hand to his. As soon as their skin met, light burst from there. Fingers, not fire, not heat, but memory. A wave of visions hit them both. They saw a field of stars, a war long ago. Varelians standing beside humans, not as enemies, but as allies. A secret council, a child with glowing eyes, a warning. If the bond ever returns, the cycle begins again. The vision faded, and they both gasped, pulling apart. "What was that?" Aiden asked. Shaking, Ziva looked at him with fear and wonder. "A memory from the ancestors," she said. "Not mine, not yours, but something passed down, hidden until now. You think we were chosen?" He asked. "No," she said quietly. "We were created." She turned to the console and locked down the system. Hiding the file again. "We can't tell anyone about this," she said. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because the bond is not just a connection," she said. "It's a weapon, a prophecy, and a threat to those in power." Aiden looked down at his hand, at the symbol now glowing slightly, even without touch. "Then what are we supposed to do?" he asked. "We find the temple in that vision," Ziva replied. "And we find out who we really are, outside the room, in the shadows of the ship." Someone was listening. A pair of dark eyes blinked inside a cloaked helmet. A whisper traveled. "Through a hidden comlink, they have awakened the bond. Phase 2 begins now." Asterix darkness moved quietly through the ship, not in the halls, but in the minds of those who smiled too much, spoke too softly, and stood too still. Princess Ziva no longer trusted shadows, not after what she had seen, not after what she had felt. The bond had awakened something buried, not just in her and Aiden, but in the ship itself. Rooms flickered with power surges. Data logs scrambled without reason. Crew members claimed to hear whispers in their sleep. Something ancient had opened its eyes, and someone didn't want it to stay open. Aiden sat in the ship's observation deck, looking out at a nearby moon. He held a datapad. Scrolling through old human files, ancient carvings, lost temple records, military reports marked erased. His fingers stopped on a photo. It was grainy, black and white, but it showed a human man standing beside a tall alien woman. Her features looked exactly like Ziva's. The file was 800 years old. They were here before, Aiden whispered. Together, just like us. Behind him, Ziva entered, dressed in black combat armor, not royal, not decorative, but built for speed and battle. "We're being watched," she said. "I can feel it." Aiden nodded. "I found proof the bond existed centuries ago. Your people erased it, so did mine." She walked over, scanning the photo. "Then someone has always feared what we are." "They're not the only ones," Aiden said. "Some of your soldiers have gone missing, 5 in the last 48 hours. Ziva's jaw tightened. "No reports came to me." "That's the point," he said. "They're being silenced." The lights above them flickered again. Ziva looked up. "We need to move." They made their way to the lower decks, quiet places meant for storage. Cleaning droids and forgotten crew, they passed through steel doors and narrow tunnels, until they reached the old communications bay. The walls were scratched with strange symbols. Symbols Ziva recognized, same as the ones in my dreams. She whispered, touching the marks. Suddenly, movement, a sound behind them. Aiden raised his weapon, but Ziva held out her hand. "Wait," she said. "It's not an enemy." A small figure stepped out, a young Varelian tech officer. Eyes wide with fear. "Princess," she whispered. "They're coming for you." Ziva stepped closer. "Who?" "Your brother," the girl said. "He sends spies. He thinks you're becoming dangerous. He knows about the bond." Aiden looked at Ziva. "Your own blood." She turned away, face hard as stone. "He always wanted the throne. This gives him a reason. But how?" Aiden asked. "How did he find out?" Ziva was silent for a moment. Then her eyes narrowed. "There's only one person close enough to see my dreams," she said. "My own royal advisor." At that moment, alarms blared through the ship. Unauthorized ship approaching, shields offline. Aiden and Ziva ran to the main deck. Chaos had already begun. The crew was shouting, controls were failing, and a dark vessel appeared outside. No markings, no ID, just sleek black metal and red engines. "They're not pirates," Aiden said. "They're hunters." Ziva grabbed the command mic. "Seal the inner chambers, prepare for boarders." Explosions rocked the ship, not outside, but from within. Sabotage. Aiden grabbed Ziva's arm. "We need to get off this ship, now." She hesitated. "I can't leave my people. You'll be no help to them if you're dead," he said. "And they'll be safer if your brother believes you're gone." Her eyes burned with fury. But she knew he was right. They ran toward the emergency pods, alarms flashing red, smoke filling the halls. Behind them, one of the guards they trusted raised his weapon. Ziva turned just in time, blasting him with a pulse shot. He collapsed, revealing a mark under his armor, the same ancient symbol, but twisted, corrupted. "What is that?" Aiden asked. Ziva looked pale. "It's the other half of the bond. It's the broken half." They reached the pod, locked the door, and launched into space. The ship shrank behind them, swallowed by shadow. Inside the pod, Ziva sat in silence, staring at nothing. "Your brother betrayed you," Aiden said. "He's not the only one," she whispered. "The bond didn't just awaken power, it awakened war." The escape pod drifted silently through space. No engines, no signal, no light, just silence and stars. Inside, Princess Ziva sat with her eyes closed, but she wasn't resting. She was remembering. Visions played behind her eyes, not dreams, not imagination. Real memories, but not hers. Hands of light, voices in a forgotten tongue, a name being whispered again and again, the flame and the crown. Across from her, Aiden watched, confused. But calm, her body was glowing faintly. Like the energy inside her was no longer sleeping. When she finally opened her eyes, they were brighter than before. Aiden, she said slowly, I need to take us to Earth. He blinked. Earth. Why? There's a temple hidden there, she said. The one from our visions. My people erased it from the maps, but the memory is still alive. He nodded, trusting her. They activated the pod's stealth mode and set course for Earth. No signals, no transmissions, no trails. They were ghosts now. It took 2 days to reach the planet, hiding between satellites and space debris. They landed in the Himalayas, a place covered in snow and silence. Are you sure it's here? Aiden asked, stepping out into the cold. Ziva placed her hand on the frozen ground. And the snow around her began to melt. Yes, she said. It's waiting for us. They hiked into the mountains, deeper and deeper, until the world around them turned quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, not even the sound of their own footsteps. Then they saw it, a wall of stone, smooth and tall, covered in symbols glowing with soft golden light. Aiden reached out to touch it, but Ziva stopped him. Let me go first, she said. She placed both hands on the wall, and it reacted instantly. The symbols lit up, moving like rivers of fire, and the stone parted, revealing a dark tunnel. They entered without a word. Inside, it was warm, alive. The walls pulsed gently, like the temple itself was breathing. They walked for what felt like hours, until they reached a chamber shaped like a circle. In the center floated a glowing crystal. Ziva stepped closer, drawn by something deeper than thought. The crystal pulsed once, and her body responded. Her skin lit up with patterns. Her armor melted away into light. A voice filled the chamber, not loud, but endless. You carry the crown, it said, and he carries the flame. Aiden stepped forward, the mark on his hand glowing again. The crystal flashed, and both of them were lifted off the ground. Their bodies surrounded by ancient light. They saw the past, a time when Varelians and humans were one, bonded through an ancient power. A war had broken them apart. Not just in politics, but in spirit. The bond had been buried to keep peace. Not to protect them, but to control them. The crystal spoke again. The bond was never meant for rulers. It was meant for unity. Their feet touched the ground again. Breathless, Ziva looked at Aiden. We were never enemies. No. He said, we were always halves of the same truth. Suddenly, the ground shook, not natural, a distant explosion, followed by a rising hum. Machines, your brother, Aiden said. He followed us. Ziva nodded, rage growing in her voice. He wants the crystal. They ran back through the tunnels. But it was too late. Dozens of dark-armored soldiers were already inside the temple, weapons raised. At the front stood her brother, tall, cruel, wearing a twisted crown of steel. You were never fit to rule, he said. But now, I'll take what you've awakened. Ziva stepped forward, her voice cold and strong. You don't understand what this is. I don't care, he snapped. I want its power. He raised his hand. A blast of red energy flew toward them, but before it could hit, Aiden stepped forward and caught it with his bare hand. The energy vanished, pulled into his skin. Everyone froze, shocked. Then Aiden's body began to glow, the symbol on his chest burning bright. Ziva's hand found his, and the chamber around them lit up like a sun. Her voice rose, not in fear, but in truth. This is not your power, she said to her brother. It was never meant for war. Then, a wave of golden energy spread from their bodies, knocking down the soldiers, shattering their weapons and sealing the temple doors. Her brother was gone, pulled into the shadows by the collapsing stone. Silence returned. Ziva and Aiden stood alone again, breathing hard, hearts racing. What was that? Aiden asked. Ziva looked at him, her eyes full of awe. That, she said, was the beginning. The temple had gone silent, but silence did not mean safety. Ziva stood at the center of the ruins, her hands still glowing from the energy she had released. The air felt heavy, thick with questions. Aiden sat against a broken pillar, chest rising and falling slowly. His face was pale, not from fear, but from something deeper. The crystal's light had entered him fully, and now it was changing him. He looked up at Ziva, eyes brighter than before, voice trembling. "There's something inside me," he said. Something. Waking up, she knelt beside him, resting a hand on his shoulder. "I know," she said softly. "It's in me too." But even as she said those words, her heart twisted because she could feel something else. A presence nearby, hidden, watching. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed across the broken chamber. Footsteps. Not soldiers, not machines. Just one person. From the shadows stepped a Varelian female in silver armor, tall, graceful, and deadly. Ziva's breath caught. "Kirel," she whispered. Her oldest friend, her battle sister, her shadow in war. Aiden looked at the newcomer, confused. "Who is she?" "She's the one who trained with me," Ziva said. "The one who stood by me in every fight." Kirel's face was unreadable until she pulled out a small black blade, silent, sharp, and humming with forbidden energy. "I didn't want to be here," Kirel said, "but the order came from the top." "What order?" Ziva asked. "Standing slowly to kill you," Kirel said, "and bring back the human alive." Aiden stood, body tense. "You're with her brother," he said. "No," Kirel replied. "I'm with the old ways. With the council that never died." Ziva's eyes flashed. "The council was dissolved a century ago." "No," Kirel said. "It went underground. And it's been waiting for the bond to return, so it could be stolen." Ziva stepped in front of Aiden, her voice full of pain and fire. "You were my sister in war," she said. "And now you point a blade at me." Kirel's face cracked, showing emotion for the first time. "I didn't want this," she said. "But you chose him. You let the bond awaken. You let them inside. They were always part of us," Ziva shouted. "You just didn't want to see it." Kirel moved like lightning, blade flashing. But Ziva was faster. She blocked with her arm, energy flaring. They clashed across the ruined temple, sparks flying, stone cracking beneath their feet. Aiden stood still, not interfering. His hand glowing again, something inside him told him to wait. This was Ziva's battle. Blade met fist. Light met shadow. History met the future. Then, in one sudden moment, Ziva disarmed Kirel, pinning her to the ground, breathing hard, eyes full of tears. "Why did you betray me?" she asked. Kirel looked up, broken because I was afraid you'd forget who we were. Ziva stepped back, letting her go. "I haven't forgotten," she said. "Oh, but I've seen what we can become." Kirel crawled to her knees. "Then? Finish it, end me." Ziva looked down, then turned away. "No," she said. "I won't destroy what I once loved." Kirel vanished into the shadows, leaving behind her blade. Aiden walked over, eyes heavy, voice soft. "You spared her." "Yes." Ziva said, "Because we're not who they want us to be." They sat together as the sun began to rise through a crack in the stone. And for the first time, there was peace, not in the world, but between them. Aiden reached out, slowly, carefully. She didn't stop him. Their hands met again, and this time the bond didn't flash or explode. It hummed, calm and strong, like a heartbeat. Ziva looked at him, her voice just a whisper. "When you touched me the first time, I felt fear. And now?" He asked. "Now I feel everything." The stars above Earth were brighter than ever, but something deeper had begun to shine. Not light from the sky, but light from within her. Ziva stood on a cliff near the ancient temple, her silver armor torn, her skin marked with glowing patterns. Symbols once lost, now reborn. Behind her, Aiden watched in silence. He knew, in that moment. She was no longer just a princess. She was something more. A messenger arrived, landing in a small scout ship. It was from her people, but not loyalists. Not soldiers, refugees, rebels, scholars, those who had seen the war coming and chosen to flee. They stepped out, and one by one they knelt before her. Queen Ziva, the elder among them, said, "You are the last of the true line." She looked surprised, almost shaken. "I never wanted the crown." She whispered, "You didn't choose it." The elder replied, "It chose you, through the bond." Ziva turned toward Aiden, eyes full of uncertainty. "Everything's changing," she said, "but I don't know what to do." Aiden stepped closer. "Then we figure it out together." In that moment, a soft hum filled the air. The bond had awakened again, not as a weapon, not as a prophecy, but as a choice. And she made it that night. They gathered the remaining followers inside. The temple old technology came back to life, glowing under their footsteps. A new plan began to form. Not war, not conquest, but revelation. They would show the galaxy what was hidden, the truth of the bond, the truth of unity. But far across the stars, others were watching. On a forgotten moon, her brother had survived. Scarred, but not dead, he stood inside a black chamber, facing the Council of Shadows. "They have the bond," he said. "But they don't understand its final phase." The council leader stepped forward, eyes glowing red. "Then we will complete it for them." A fleet launched into space. Ships without flags, soldiers without names. Their mission was clear. Destroy the bond or use it, whichever came first, back on Earth. Ziva sensed it before the sensors did. "They're coming," she said, "and they won't stop this time." Aiden loaded his weapons, then looked at her. "No running." "No," she replied, her voice calm, only rising. They stood at the front of the mountain, their people behind them, the sky filled with black ships. Ready to burn everything, Ziva stepped forward, hands raised, the energy within her flared. To life, golden and wild, Aiden joined her. The mark on his chest now pulsing like a star. When their hands met, the mountain shook. The sky opened. And from the bond came not destruction but light. It spread across the air like a wave, crashing. Into the enemy fleet, ships shut down, weapons failed, soldiers dropped to their knees in confusion. No one understood what had happened, but they all felt it. A message delivered not by voice, but by memory. A memory of what they once were, before fear, before control, before separation. And at the center of it all stood two figures. Ziva, once a weapon, now a queen. And Aiden, once an experiment, now a flame. Together, they rewrote the meaning of power. Not with war, but with connection. Not with blood, but with bond. The battle ended before it began. The enemy vanished into silence, unwilling to fight what they could not break. Days later, broadcasts spread across galaxies. A new message, not from a government, not from an emperor, but from her. Ziva stood before a holographic audience of millions. "I was forced to marry a human," she said, "but what I found was not weakness." She paused, looked to her side. Aiden stood beside her, calm and proud. "What I found," she continued, "was truth. The bond between us is not a tool. It is a mirror, showing us who we were meant to be." She looked into the camera, voice soft but strong. This is not the beginning of a new war. It is the end of an old lie. The message spread like fire and across distant worlds. People began to remember. Hope returned, fear broke, and somewhere, in the space between stars, the bond glowed, alive forever.